Welcome back to the Print 3D channel. Today is January 19th, and that means day 19 of the 3DP 365 project. And on this episode, we're going to show you how we printed out this very cool little knight, so stick around. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me here for day 19 of the 3DP 365 project. If you're unfamiliar with the project, check out the description below. I put a fact section down at the bottom that'll give you all the details. But on today's episode, we're going to talk about the knight print. This is a very popular model up on Thingiverse, and it's been printed quite a lot, at different sizes too. And we only printed ours at 100%. And we used MatterHackers PRO PLA in the color of gold on our gMax 1.5 XT+. And we did have a few little minor problems with the print, but we'll talk about that when we get back to the workbench. But for now, let's head over to Thingiverse and I'll show you where to download the model. Then we'll tab over to Simplify 3D and I'll show you my settings for this print. Then we'll fire up some of that time-lapse footage and I'll meet you guys back here at the workbench. Okay, so here we are at Thingiverse. Here is the knight sculpture by Andreas. And this guy is a very, very talented artist. There are a lot of other cool items in his collection that I'm definitely going to be printing. And as you can see, this is a very popular item to print. And of course, we've already printed ours, so let's tab over to Simplify 3D and I'll show you my settings for this print. Okay, so here we are in Simplify 3D and I've dropped the model down on the print bed at 100%. I have not enlarged this at all. We're going to print it at its original size, so check out my process settings. Under layer height, we did a 0.16 millimeter layer height with 3 top solid layers and 3 bottom solid layers and 3 perimeters. We also ran a brim on this print by entering 0 in the skirt offset with 4 outlines. For infill, I used 20% infill. I didn't use any support material because I don't believe it needed it. For temperature, this is MatterHackers PRO PLA, and I drift between 200 and 208, so I used 207 on this print. For cooling, I used a 3-stage cooling. On the first 2 layers, the fan will be off completely, and then on the 3rd layer, it'll kick up to 60%, and then on the 6th layer, it kick up to 80%. And the reason why I do this is because the cooling is so strong on the gMax 1.5 XT+, I want to gradually ramp up the cooling so I don't cause any back pressure. Under speed, we ran this out at 35 millimeters per second. So I'll hit prepare to print and show you how it slices. It's a very detailed model, but we've captured most of that detail on our gMax 1.5 XT+, and I'll play this through so you can see it. And there's a lot of detail to be captured too. The little arms and the sheath for the sword separate from the main body and then they join back up again. And then it prints out the head and finishes it up with the sword. So let's fire up some of that time-lapse footage and I'll meet you guys back at the workbench and we'll talk about the print. Okay, so that was a cool little bit of time-lapse footage, and here's the finished print, and I'll put some close-ups in at the end like I always do. But we did have some problems with the sword, and printing this at 100% was part of the issue, because this is very small and very thin, and the tip of the sword is printing all by itself. So that was a little bit of a problem there, and I should have used multiple processes to slow down my print and maybe add a little bit more cooling when we got to the top. But nonetheless, the rest of the print turned out pretty good. The 2 little arms printed separately and joined back with the body, and they look pretty great. And of course, the sheath for the sword looks awesome, and the rest of the figure looks really great too. And of course, the MatterHackers PRO PLA in the color of gold really makes this figure pop. And my gMax 1.5 XT+ captured all of the detail on this. So this is a very good print, it's just not 100%. Well, that about wraps it up for day 19 of the 3DP 365 project. I hope you found this episode interesting. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share those videos, and join me again tomorrow for the very next episode of the 3DP 365 project. This is very cool. I really should have printed this gMax size, but that's for another time.